As a disclaimer, I do not support nor condone the harassment of the creator because of personal opinions on their creations. These reviews are created for the purpose of giving my opinions on these characters, along with giving constructive criticism to help the creator in the future. As such, the level of artistic ability is not included in my review, and only the design and story of the character. Thank you very much. Hey guys, I'm back from Puerto Rico, and I could finally get this review out. I had it done, but because I was going there for a wedding, there was just a few things I had to take care of and deal with, so I couldn't really have the time to get this video out there and just upload it. Just very busy, very busy. And I noticed I hit 130 subscribers, so woo! So I guess this could be my 130 sub special, I guess you could say. And today I will be reviewing Eric Zilla's kaiju creation, Exodus, the Angel of God. At first glance, the design is very simple. It's a standard dinosaur design, and it's got those Godzilla scales running down its back, and it's also got the horns that run along the sides of its head, which it gives it a look that's very similar to that of G-Fantis, which is obviously G-Fan's signature trademark monster. And overall, it's good. It's not too similar to G-Fantis because, however, with G-Fantis has a very different skin texture, not to mention, despite having similar colors, Eric does use a few other colors in his design, which does set it apart from G-Fantis, in that his main colors he uses are the deep blue, the orange, the more lighter tannish kind of yellow color, and gray. Obviously gray is for the claws as well as the spikes and horns and all that, as well as for the armor that runs down the arms. The armor, however, on the back as well as on the upper arms and the legs and running down towards the feet are all blue, having that lighter orange underbelly with the deeper orange for the hands, head, as well as legs. It creates a very good contrast. It helps you identify where everything is, and it doesn't have everything become too monochrome. However, with all the colors he used, they're a very good choice, and it overall exemplifies the creation in a very good way. And I think overall, I personally, if I had done the creation, I would have probably made the armor around the arms blue as well. However, I think he did a good job with the gray, and the only issue is I think that just gives a stranger contrast. However, that's my own personal opinion there. I would make it all blue, or if anything, as you can see with the arm in the back, the armor does wrap around completely, so it's completely gray. If anything, have the armor on the front of the arm be that blue, while the lighter tan yellow orange have that be the underarm to where the hand is, where that becomes that deeper orange again. That would be my own opinion. And this is only the first design. This is the first design he had done. I am reviewing both the old design, the updated design, and the transformation. The original design was 120 meters. That's a pretty good meters. It's not too tall because obviously I always have an issue with kaiju being too big, and then it just doesn't really work well with certain stories that people are trying to make. His weight was 50,000 tons. That's pretty standard for kaiju weight, and his length was 200 meters. So that's pretty standard. Overall, the original design was really good, and I think that the design by itself, even though he updated it, it's good. It's good. He had a good base, and he saw things he wanted to prove on it, so let's see what the improvements did. Now we move on to the updated design of Exodus. As we can see here, the design has a much thicker build, with the upper body being more hunched over, having a much thicker neck, as well as a more puffed out chest. Gives him a little bit more of a humanoid-esque sort of proportions, which is fine and all fine and good. He has slightly different leg armor. The armor does run down all the way to his tail, and there's a little bit of orange flesh exposed in the circular area there. The arms are a little bit more muscular, so you do see the armor proportioned a little bit differently. The horns on the sides of the heads are curled up a little bit more, as well as the spine's a little bit more prominent. I should also make note, however, that the person who did do this design, in the original design, I actually made a mistake there. The spikes at the end of the tail, as you can see here, were on the original design of Eric's drawing, I use Eric Strong at the start of the video. The reason I'm using these ones by Pyro Leonidas is because it's a better portrait style, so I can get a better look at it. So I should clarify that in the updated design, as well as also in the original design. If you saw at the start of the video, there was a little bit of spikes running down the neck. However, he did get rid of those in the updated design. I should also make note of the fact that the blue and the gray are a little bit darker, as well as you can see that on even Eric Strong, the blue and gray are deeper in their tones, so it does define the design a little bit better, and I'd overall say it's pretty good. I personally, between the lighter and the darker blue, I'd say I preferred the lighter blue. I just like the lighter blue in general, and usually kaiju that I see that have a blue color are usually that dark blue and never usually that lighter blue. I think it just sort of makes it stand out a little bit more. However, you could also make mention when it comes to colors that the orange area, the darker orange, there's a little bit less on it in the design, and there's a lot more of the lighter orange, especially in the tail and the neck regions. However, once again, the much deeper orange is prominent on both the tails. You can see a little bit of it on the arms and of course the hands. Overall, I'd say between both designs, the designs are both good, and I'd say personally I would mix and match pieces of the original and new designs. However, I would say that the new design is indeed what you could call, from a certain perspective, a solid improvement on the original design. And speaking of, he did increase Exodus's height from 120 to 135. Once again, it's not too big, so I don't take much issue with it. And accordingly with weights, he did increase the weight to 125,000, and length pretty much the same. Once again, the abilities are the same. Of course, there's armor, telepathy, spirit ball, and the weakness. As you can see in both designs, at the front of his head there is the yellow orb, which is his weakness. So in terms of powers, he's very balanced. So for if anyone wanted to roleplay with the character, he's not overpowered. He's not going to be god modding if you want to RP with the character. If you wanted to use him in your own story, if Eric gave you permission, he's not this all-powerful deity in this form, at least. But let's move on to the next design, which is Grand Exodus. And yes, from here, from the old design to the updated design to the newest design, we can see Grand Exodus, and once again we can point out the differences, namely that he has a row of spines running down his tail, as you can see. Not to mention that there is now blue along his stomach. There is also a lot of dots that run down his stomach, not to mention his upper arms, his legs, from the upper area to the lower area near where the toes are, and the big thing, he does have wings. Now, they are indeed angelic looking wings because he is indeed an angelic kaiju. Once again, it's interesting that he does use angelic wings instead of draconic looking wings, which I commend him for. Indeed, he is making an angelic or holy character, so using those kind of feathery angel wings would be expected. However, when people do make these kind of angelic looking characters, they sometimes tend to forget that, yeah, you're making a holy character, so making those draconic bat-like wings does give them more of a demonic look than an angelic look. So I do commend him for sticking to his gun, keeping with his sources, keeping the story in check, and using angelic wings. And I'd say they are really nice. It does add that silver and slate color to the wings, so that does add two other colors to the palette, which I think they meld really well. As you can see, the blue is toned down a little bit more, so it's that more lighter blue. However, he does detail it with the dark blue, which is nice. And overall, with now the colors being that light orange, the dark orange, gray, blue, like light blue, dark blue for accenting and detailing, and that slate and white. Overall, all those colors fit together perfectly. He chose really great colors for the design. And to outline the stance for Grand Exodus being a transformation, his stats are the same as the updated design, except for the wingspan being 205 meters. His weight, however, is decreased to 120,000 tons, which I do give him that. That's kind of clever, because since he's angelic, he's a little bit lighter, he's flying, kind of loosen up some pounds, which is kind of cool. He now is able to fly at the speed of light, so he is indeed a light speed character. So anyone who wants to make sure if they're RPing or versing or doing whatever they want with Eric's permission, just know that that's not god modding if a character can fly at light speeds, because a lot of other kaiju can do it. And now he has the Holy Fire Blast and the Holy God Blast with electrical strikes. That is directly quoting from the page of Grand Exodus. I would say, if anything, try to, with the naming convention, Holy's fine. Just with electrical strikes, you could say maybe like Deific Holy Thunder Blast or something like that, or Holy Deific Thunder Blast, or Holy Deific Electrical Surge, something, because just the wording's just a little bit odd, and I think like you could probably tighten it up for a better sounding name. Overall, the design is good, powers are fine, proportions are all nice, it's not too outrageous in its weight to tights, it's all good, it's a very good transformation, very solid, and it keeps in line with the character. So let's move on to the story. Now, the stories that Exodus is a part of include the Four Beasts and End of Days. They both revolve around Judeo-Christianism and all that, and he does do a lot of art with little tidbits and flavor text that does talk about the stories. However, the gist of Exodus's backstory in these stories is that Exodus was a kaiju of God's creation, and during the events after Jesus had come, died, risen, and then left Earth, and during the events when the Jews were kind of being really attacked by the Romans, Exodus is the reason why the Jews were able to hold off the Romans in that one final stand in history that everyone knows about. And he would later on fight a hell beast called a Zooloid, Z-O-A-L-O-I-D, Zooloid. Kind of reminds me of Zoanoid from Guyver, just a little mention. And after this event, he would be sealed away until reappearing in Mexico City in 1999. And I will not spoil the rest of the story from there. Go to his page. I will link his page, both his YouTube and his DeviantArt, down below, so that you can look at it for yourself. Overall, I would say that he does follow what is written in the text very well. He is respectful to it, and the characters, they're very standard for a kaiju story, and that's completely fine. If you want to just write like a bombastic kaiju story, you don't need complex characters, you just need characters that are smart and they make sense, and the characters in the story make sense, and that is completely fine in my book. You do however see here that with his drawing of Exodus on silk art, you can see that the pauldrons on his blue arm are a little bit different. I'm going back into design already, but yeah, the spikes are back. There's actually blue armor that runs down the arms here, which is cool and all that. And once again, he does an amazing job with his art. He's a very good, talented artist, and I just really recommend that you look at his page. And in a way, you won't have to worry about clicking on that link yourself. However, you still should, and here's why. Eric did ask me to go and review his page. This is something he does on his own channel. It's his own kind of content, and he wanted me to do it for him, so I will respect his wishes. Going from here, we do see obviously Ericzilla. There's his name, United States, a little bit about himself, all that goodness. Of course, there is Exodus. There is a poster for End of Days, a portrait of Exodus. And once again, here's all the beautiful art that he does do. He does do prints. You can buy these prints, all the groups he's in, if you want to join any of them. I won't show them all, but he's in quite a few. And he was one of the first watchers I had on DA, and I thank him for that. And here you can see a lot of his art. Now, if you're on DA and you want like to follow, or what I should say, watch someone who just does a ton of kaiju art with all like interesting and unique designs, really watch him, because he puts them out at a very constant pace, unlike me. But yes, he does do them at a very steady pace. He has a lot of interesting designs and a lot of interesting stories. This is his kaiju story, an anthropomorphic story about like all the Godzilla monsters, and as you can see here, he has some of these amazing designs. And you can really point out his inspiration too. Like, you can really tell that he really was going for like kind of a Baragon design here with the ears, and it does fit very well. And I mean, if you watch a lot of Tokusatsu and a lot of Godzilla kaiju, all that stuff, you can really see the inspiration for certain designs, and it's really cool because despite the fact that he takes inspiration, he doesn't completely rip like designs entirely. He's very original with his designs, and he can do very good humanoid, very good serpentine, skeletal, dinosaurian. He's very good with all these different poses and all that. He's a very great artist. I recommend him so much. Like, he is just amazing. That's all I can say. And all these black and white stuff here, this is all his stuff for a kaiju story. It's in black and white. You can read through all of this. It's really awesome. That's all I have to say. There's more of Exodus right there. Like, it's awesome, guys. I recommend it entirely. Now, once again, my final thoughts concerning Exodus and Eric Zilla. Eric Zilla is a great artist. Exodus is an amazingly executed kaiju. Very well done. He's put a lot of thought into it. I recommend that you look at his art on Exodus as well as everything else that he's been doing. Keep it up, man. You're doing a great job, man. And I think that's about all I could say for this review, guys. Tune in next week when I do more reviews, or whenever I get around to doing it. I don't know. But that's all, guys. See ya.